this can well be the robbery of the century. Armed robbers, in fact, have seized millions of euros worth of merchandise from a jewelry shop at the famous Ritz Hotel in Paris, perhaps one of the most famous hotels in Europe, maybe in the whole world. 5 armed men with axes smashed a window of the shop inside the hotel before making good for the haul. 3 of the men have been arrested on the spot, while the others are still on the run. According to reports, the total estimate of the loot is more than $5 million.
I was in the Ritz at the bar drinking a cocktail. In fact, we heard gunshots. They asked us not to turn around, and in fact, we turned around. I saw hooded men with guns, and then my only aim was getting out of there. So I left through the bar. I escaped. I ran and ran.
And we are joining on the broadcast tonight to discuss for more on this story by our correspondent in Paris, Elena Casas-Montanes. Thank you very much, Elena. Thank you for joining us tonight. So these could well be defined the robbery of the century. Do we have any news coming from the police regarding the thieves who have been arrested? Who are they? Where do they come from? Was it a plan?
Well, the manhunt is still underway for the 2 men who escaped after that robbery. So as you were saying, 3 of them attacked the jewellery windows at the front of the Ritz with axes, hacked their way through and stole almost $5 million worth of designer jewellery in a spectacular heist, and then passed their booty out through the window to 2 accomplices who escaped on motorbikes. Now, those 3 men who were left behind were arrested at the scene. The police did move quickly enough to catch them, and they did also manage to retrieve some of the booty. Some of it was left in a bag on the ground by the guy who was escaping on a motorbike. But most of that is still lost, and the police haven't yet been able to track down the 2 who got away after this spectacular heist.
And is it a robbery that is being talked about a lot in the French media and the European media because it's a $5 million robbery?
Well, it is a pretty spectacular smash and grab, certainly. It's not the first that we've seen in that luxury hotel area of Paris. The Ritz Hotel is on the Place Vendôme, where there are dozens of very high-end jewellers and some of the most expensive jewellery shops in the world. The area did see a series of dramatic robberies like this in 2014, as a result of which there's a much-enhanced police presence in the square, and the Interior Minister here in France, for example, was quick to congratulate the local police for how quickly they leapt into action when this happened last night. But it's certainly a pretty spectacular case, and here it does have people talking.
And regarding the possibility of these people to sell this kind of jewels, I mean, what is the crime scene? Is it likely that they will easily sell all these, or they will kind of be found? Well, they will be found because of selling this kind of robbery, which is what often happens.
Yes, as you're saying, what you see with these very high-end pieces, which any sort of jewellery dealer who knows his stuff would recognise as having been stolen from this particular robbery, is that if they've been stolen to order, as they often are by criminal gangs, then these pieces will probably be broken down, and the individual stones will then be sold off, unless, of course, they're going to a specific client who knows perfectly well their dodgy origins and yet ordered them to be stolen.
And then one more question. One is prone normally, when one thinks about this kind of robbery, imagines very sophisticated ways to get into the jewellery. But we are talking about people breaking basically the window or the front glass of the jewellery, getting in and getting everything out. What about the security? Has the Ritz released any press statement and said how is it possible that in such an area, in such a hotel, there was no security ready to stop this robbery?
Well, as you say, there was certainly no attempt at subtlety. They smashed their way through the Ritz windows with axes and then exchanged fire with the police in the hotel's famous Hemingway bar, a scene that Hemingway himself would probably have appreciated. But really, the police, although taken by surprise to begin with, of course, did react extremely quickly and had locked down the scene and detained the 3 men who were inside the building within just a few minutes. And there doesn't seem to have been any security risk to the guests at the Ritz or to passers-by. These were thieves who knew exactly what they'd come to get, grabbed it, and at least 2 of them ran.
One last question to you. You said this is not the first time we are witnessing such a robbery. Does it mean that Paris is a city where robbery is a widespread crime?
No, not particularly, I wouldn't say, not compared to anywhere else, but it's obviously true that anywhere in the world these sorts of very high-end jewellery shops, and we are talking about probably the most expensive jewellery boutiques in the world, are a tempting target for a certain kind of professional thief, and obviously some will always think that it's worth taking the risk.